morning, sports fans. Welcome back to the channel. Today we've got a non-sports video because I recently got a package back from our friends at Baseball Card Exchange. I sent in, I don't know, about a dozen or so boxes of various non-sports boxes that I had lying around so they could be authenticated and wrapped, and I thought I'd show you guys what we got there. I also recently purchased a couple of boxes of non-sports cards that ended up not having 36 packs in them. They had like a few shy. So I've got those boxes opened up, and I'm actually going to list these for sale on my site, hotcardboard.com, where I've also put some other items on there. I don't know if there's a way to. I think you can view like new items, but if you want to see what those are, I'll be doing a video on those probably in the next week or so to show some sports packs that I've gotten recently that are actually pretty cool, and I'll be selling those. So let's jump right in. First, we've got a box of 1976 Don Russ Space 1999. These boxes, while quite old, are relatively inexpensive. I think I bought this actually a few years ago for maybe like $15-20. They're a little bit more now, and if you get them wrapped, they're maybe like a $50, $60, $70 box. I'm not quite sure, but for being such an old box, they're actually quite easy to find for a pretty low price. So I had to get one because anything this old is pretty cool to me, and it was in nice shape. I think I got this from like Dave and Adam's Card World. They had them for real cheap several years ago. When I bought this, that was kind of at a time when I was just sort of getting, the inkling of being interested in non-sports cards. I had some non-sports cards from stuff that I really loved, like the Goonies and stuff, but I didn't really, get big into it. Like I feel like I'm pretty big into it now. I definitely want like everything I don't have, which I guess makes me a kind of a collector of this stuff. So yeah, I never watched it. I think one time I looked up, see if there's like episodes of this show online. I think there might be some on YouTube, but it was pretty low. I don't know, low viewer affair that I don't think was around for more than a season. So next up, we've got Gremlins. This is what they call an X-Out box. And these boxes were returned to Topps from the retailers that they, had originally sold them to. And the retailer then gets, like a refund of their money. So it's essentially like sort of Topps sold stuff on consignment to retailers. And a lot of boxes, especially non-sport boxes, will have these X-Out marks because they weren't very hot sellers. So retailers were inclined to, get their sort of deposit back and, recoup their money, which is a pretty nice little program, right? Like if you're a retailer, you can basically sell Topps cards without, any risk, any significant risk of, buying something and then being unable to sell it and having to be stuck with it. You just send it back to Topps and get what you paid for it. This is from 1984. This is when Gremlins was out. And yeah, I think I picked this up relatively recently in one of those larger kind of bulk purchases that I did. So next up is the sequel to that Gremlins box, Gremlins 2. This, I believe, is from, 86 maybe. When did Gremlins 2 come out? Wow. 1990. So, quite a long wait for the sequel. I didn't realize it was that long. But I did sort of think it was about 89 that the movie was out, but I was just thinking, oh, well, if the original Gremlins was out in 84, it would have only been a few years after that, but it actually was quite a few years. Unfortunately, this top of this box kind of goes over. Sometimes these boxes sort of fold into it themselves, which is a real bummer. This corner, has held up, which is nice. But this does happen fairly frequently with older boxes. When they get wrapped, it just sort of exacerbates it. This is also an X out, but you can kind of hardly even tell because the background is so dark. See, there's the X. Okay. This next one up is an older box. It's from 1979, I believe. Alien the movie. I bought this. I think I bought the same time I bought that Space 1999 box. So I got it for a pretty low price, just because that was generally a cheaper time. And I had it sitting around unwrapped, and I thought, you know what? Why not send this in? This one kind of has that problem with this side, and the back is sort of folding over on itself too with the wrap, but that's okay. Actually, this front here was ripped too. I think I might have put some tape on there on the inside or something, but excuse me, it's all wrapped up nice and tight and secure now, so that's nice. Next one up is one of my favorites, Elf Series 1. I don't know if I loved, but for some reason I just really was called to this show when it was out. I don't know why. I thought it was kind of goofy, and I just enjoyed it. And I have to say I didn't watch it religiously, but whenever it was on, I would watch it. And boy, I just realized these are 48 container boxes instead of 36, which is the norm, I think. That's certainly the norm for sports cards boxes from Topps from the 80s, but I think generally non-sports they also did 36 count boxes, so the 48 count is kind of unusual. Garbage Pail Kids were 48 count boxes, which is kind of crazy because those are very slim boxes, but there's only a few stickers in each of those packs. Anyways, you'll notice this is not an X out, so that's pretty cool. It's a very clean box. No real tucking of the sides on this one. Everything looks really clean. I think I can't remember when I got this. I think it was relatively recently. So, anyways, this one's from 1987. And, happy to have that wrapped up. Next up, we have Rambo, First Blood Part 2, Sylvester Stallone, from 1985. This one is an X out. By the way, there's generally a premium on non-X out boxes, which is kind of interesting because this is true also for sports boxes of cards, Topps cards. And I think Topps is the only company that did the X-Out sort of program. So you don't see Fleer X-Outs or Donruss X-Outs. But for Topps, there's a premium for, complete boxes that do not have the X-Out, which is kind of crazy because there's not really, much of a market or demand or price for. I have my daughter roaming around upstairs, so I might have to attend to her. But okay, I'll be right back. Okay, and I'm back. So this is Rambo. Every young boy's favorite movie. Who was old enough to watch something like this. This one is in really good shape. I think I got this in one of the bulk purchases I made recently, so that's a nice one. X-Out. Next up, this one actually was not one I had seen before I picked this up, but this was in a group purchase, and it's from the 80s. I can't remember when. 83. Zeros, Heroes. I don't know what the heck that means. Like, was this a show or something? I think this is just kind of like a goofy, sort of parody superheroes product. And these boxes are actually quite rare. I think there's some value to these. And if I recall, when I looked up these before, there were almost none of them that were wrapped by Baseball Card Exchange. So this one is relatively clean and sharp. So, maybe there's some value there, but I'll have to look that one up. So, next up we have a box I've had for a long time. This is one that I sort of bought on a whim. I don't know, maybe like 4 or 5 years ago when I started collecting, cards again. Like 2017, 2018. I can't remember where I would have bought this from, but at one point these were, fairly valuable. It was maybe like $100 box. I don't know. I think I looked that up when, the market was kind of at its height in 2020 or so, 2021. These have come down a bit in value, like everything else, and these are actually quite rare. You don't see a lot of these around, these trivia battle boxes. I did a video on my other ASMR channel, my non-sports channel, where I actually opened some packs of this stuff and kind of looked at, the questions, and it was pretty fun stuff. It's basically like Trivial Pursuit cards. There's a little game aspect to it, so you could, make a game out of it. I think it's actually kind of a fun idea. I mean, this came out in 86, 85, oh wow, 84, okay. 84, so that was, when Trivial Pursuit, I think, was at its height of popularity. I think that came out around 82, 83 or so, and then, was super popular for many years. So I have no doubt that this Trivia Battle product was, an attempt to cash in on the popularity of Trivial Pursuit and its, substantial popularity in the mid to late 80s. So kind of a fun little piece of 80s right there. Next up, I have twins here. Couple of Rocky IVs. I think one of these I had from, I don't know, some random purchase in the last 4 years. And then the other one I got in one of the bulk purchases that I did in the last, 6 months. So I thought I'd send them both in, and they are both now wrapped. They're both X-Outs. These are from 1984. And, yeah, Rocky IV, if you're not a Rocky fan, was the one where Rocky fights this guy from Russia. Actually, it says 85, but I'm pretty sure that movie was from 84. Although, I don't know, am I wrong? Because this does say copyright 1985. I swear this movie was from 84. No, maybe it was 85. Well, in any event, I think, yeah, man, I don't know. I think Rocky 3 was from 83. That was the one with Mr. T. So 84 probably is a little soon, so I guess this was from 85. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. In any event, yeah, so Rocky fights this Russian guy who's like, jacked up on steroids and, is a sort of like, kind of quasi-human sort of character. Anyways, a fun little movie. This next box is another one of those sort of very commonly cheaply available boxes that for some, I think, the boxes that, I just realized this is a non-X out though, so that's kind of fun. I think a lot of these are probably X outs, but I think what happens sometimes is Topps makes, a non-sports product that is, goes with a movie that just did not, do well. And I think this movie, was probably a pretty big budget movie that they expected to do very well, but it was just a bomb. Consequently, these were probably available in spades back then and continue to be quite cheap now. That's Sean Young. Actually, I love Sean Young. But this movie is probably not on her resume. She was in, of course, Blade Runner and many other movies from the 80s and 90s, and Ace Ventura, Pet Detective. But yeah, this movie, I don't know, I don't really remember anybody talking about this movie. I remember vaguely this movie being like out when I was a kid, 85, but just, yeah, not a success. So the cards from this are I don't want to say they're cheap because I'm guessing the price of this box these days is maybe like $30, but for a long time you get these things for $5. So relative to other non-sports boxes, this is very cheap stuff. And I don't know, at some point I had to pick up one just because whatever, I'm trying to get as much variety as I can. Next up is a fun one. This is Return of the Jedi. There were, I think, at least 3 series of this stuff. There were many series of all of the Star Wars card products, and Return of the Jedi was no exception. I picked this up relatively recently, I think from a Facebook purchase, just because, I've always wanted Star Wars unopened stuff, but it's become very expensive, especially for the Star Wars stuff, for like the first, well, really, Empire Strikes Back is pretty expensive too, even in the second series. Return of the Jedi, of course, remains quite, affordable compared to those, but still not cheap. This is probably a $100 plus box, and this one's really nice because it's not X out. A lot of Star Wars boxes are X outs. Actually, a lot of Return of the Jedi's are X outs. Original Star Wars, I don't know if they had that program back, that in the 70s, so you might not see many X outs, but anyways, this one has a little bit of the sort of side tucking on that side, but other than that, it looks real clean. And yeah, this is a great box. I'm really happy to have this in the collection. Okay, next up, Superman 2. This is a pretty light X out, which is a little kind of like pencil mark right there. This is one of, I think, this is one of the boxes where, well, okay, this particular box, I think I bought a while ago. I can't really remember. That's my printer. I had a box of this stuff included in one of the bulk sales I did, but it was one of those boxes I'd mentioned in a video where it looked like what actually happened is somebody opened all the packs and just kind of folded them back up and put them back in the box. So I only have this one, but this one's in pretty nice shape. Everything, corners look quite good. Everything looks pretty clear. Some scuff on there, scuffing, but yeah, looks pretty good. So this is from 1980. It says 81. The movie is from 1980, so I guess, you know, call that what you will. I guess it's an 81 product. But pretty cool stuff. You know, some stuff from Topps in 1980 had the old Topps logo on it. Some stuff has the new logo on it. So really just depends, I guess, on when in 1980 it came out. All right, last one is the most, I think, rare and valuable one. Yeah, definitely should be. This is Miss Pac-Man from Fleer, 1981. I happen to love Miss Pac-Man, the game. I think it's one of my favorite 80s games, arcade games. And these boxes are very rare, so they're quite valuable. There's really only, like, you know, a handful of these on eBay at any given time, and I think they're like $500 to $600. I got this one, I think, for like under $300, and it actually came from a case that was relatively recently opened. So this box is unbelievably fresh and pristine. Everything is extremely sharp, and I mean, it really looks brand spanking new. So got that one wrapped, and you know, there's almost none of these that are wrapped by Baseball Card Exchange, so I'm happy to have that one in my possession. All right, let's take a swing at opening some non-sports. I really have not opened much, if any, non-sports stuff on the show here, so this will be a good chance to do that. These Here's Bo cards are another one of those set, like those baby movie cards, where just for many years this has been like the lowest priced non-sport product from the 80s out there. You could always find this stuff for like markedly cheaper than anything else from the era. And I've never opened any of this stuff. I am not even really sure. Like, okay, so there's Bo Derek, right? Okay. I think there was a movie called Here's Bo. Otherwise, I don't know why there'd be a random ape. I think that's orangutan in there. So yeah, these guys must all be in the movie Here's Bo, I guess. I don't know. We'll find out. So Bo Derek, for you youngsters, she was basically like a kind of a pinup model turned actress from the 80s. I think she was like I feel like she was in SI, you know, Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue, you know, when she first started, and maybe that's what launched her. That gum has got to be nasty. Her, you know, sort of popularity. I might be wrong about that, but she's a little before my time. So here's your free poster. Kind of cool. You got a entire poster, small poster, but nevertheless, in a, you know, tiny little pack of cards. So it's 4 of 12. So there's 12 of these posters. Kind of fun. You don't see a lot of card sets that have a poster in every pack. All right, here we go. So I've never seen these before. I'll show you the back. Bo grew up in Long Beach and Torrance, California. She and her sister Carrie, now 18, attended the Nathaniel Narbonne High School in Harbor City here. Her whole family encouraged her in sports. Photo by John Derek. Okay. Lost and nowhere to go. So it looks like a 72 card set. 72. Okay. So maybe there's not a movie called Here's Bo, because this is for the movie 10, which I remember, or I mean I've heard of. I've never seen it, and I don't remember it, when it was out, but I've heard of it, and I know that was a movie she was in. So I guess this is really just a card set for the actress, and covers maybe several of her movies. Lunch break in the jungle. I gather there is some kind of movie where she's in the jungle, and I don't know if that's 10 or something else. Bo Pearl dives in Japan. Okay. And then there's wow, we get the same one twice. And there's a puzzle you can make by putting the backs of some of the cards together, as is common with non-sports cards in the 80s. There's a boa constrictor trying to kill Bo Derek. Okay. So yeah, I don't know. Interesting stuff. I've never seen those cards before. Here we have Indiana Jones cards. These are not the original Indiana Jones movie. They're, I think, the second one, which I think is what, Temple of Doom. Raiders of the Lost Ark is the first Indiana Jones movie, and there are cards for that movie. They're quite valuable and rare because they're, I think, much, less common than these. But yeah, these are, so Temple of Doom is what these are from, which I think is the second Indiana Jones movie. Breaking Free. I think cards from the the Raiders of the Lost Ark set are actually fairly valuable if they're like in mint condition. And they're like sort of the key cards, like the one that just shows Harrison Ford by himself. There's a sticker. Giant Huggy. Dr. Jones, a banquet guest. There comes my daughter pounding away. Hold on. Okay, I think my daughter's just kind of like dancing around making noise. Yeah, she gets very excited. Okay, so I think that's it for now. Hope everybody's doing well. We'll catch you all next time. Have a great one.